On April 21, 1945, Felix Steiner made a decision that would change the outcome of World War II and seal the fate of Berlin and Nazi Germany. Steiner's actions in those final days of the war continue to fascinate historians and raise questions about his role. Was he a hero who hastened the end of the conflict, or a traitor to Hitler's regime? This video examines the complex legacy of Felix Steiner and his impact on the final moments of World War II, shedding light on a pivotal moment that shaped the war's conclusion. Felix Steiner's journey from World War I veteran to high-ranking SS commander was shaped by his military experiences and innovative approach to training. After serving in the Imperial German Army during the First World War, Steiner remained in the military during the Weimar Republic. He developed training methods that emphasized practical skills, realistic combat scenarios, and adaptability, departing from the rigid drill common in German military training at the time. Despite not being a member of the Nazi Party, Steiner was recruited into the SS in 1935. Steiner's focus on military expertise contrasted with the SS's emphasis on racial ideology and blind obedience to Nazi principles. He applied his training methods to the SS Verfügungstruppe, which would eventually become the Waffen-SS, creating units known for their high levels of motivation and combat effectiveness. Initially, the SS Verfügungstruppe functioned primarily as a ceremonial guard with minimal military training. However, Steiner perceived SS Verfügungstruppe as an ideal foundation for developing a new military force, independent of the existing armed forces. To achieve his vision, he, along with other like-minded former army officers like Paul Hauser, embarked on the ambitious endeavor of transforming their men into an elite combat unit. Steiner's leadership style broke down traditional barriers of rank to create more cohesive fighting units, an approach that proved highly effective in building morale. Tactically, Steiner advocated for mobile warfare and combined arms operations. As Germany prepared for war, Steiner played a crucial role in transforming the Waffen-SS into an elite fighting force, comprising both volunteers and conscript from occupied and non-occupied regions. At the start of the war, Steiner commanded the Waffen-SS regiment SS Deutschland during the invasion of Poland and the Battle of France, earning the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Steiner was introduced to Heinrich Himmler, who chose him to oversee the formation and command of the new SS Division Viking. While this division achieved military success, it also gained notoriety for its brutality during the invasion of the Soviet Union, including the massacre of 600 Jews in Zaborov, Ukraine. Upon its formation, the division mainly consisted of non-German volunteers. These successes led to Steiner's appointment as leader of the 3rd SS Panzer Corps in 1943. This promotion also brought Steiner into closer contact with the highest levels of Nazi leadership, exposing him to the harsh realities of Hitler's strategic decisions and the ideological fanaticism. Felix Steiner's relationship with Nazi leadership was complex. As his influence within the Waffen-SS grew, he found himself increasingly at odds with the ideological constraints imposed by the regime. This tension was particularly evident in his interactions with Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS. During his time with the Viking Division, Steiner didn't win much favor with Himmler, who had reprimanded him multiple times for signing his orders as Generalleutnant Steiner instead of using his SS rank. Furthermore, he had been reprimanded for his disapproval of the Reich's policy that treated Russians as subhumans, as well as for offering his men a lukewarm Heil rather than the obligatory Heil Hitler. In a notable incident, Steiner referred to Himmler as a sleazy romantic. Despite these conflicts, Steiner managed to maintain a degree of independence for his units. As the war progressed, Steiner's disillusionment extended to Hitler's military strategy. He openly criticized the Führer's refusal to allow tactical withdrawals, recognizing that this approach led to unnecessary losses, particularly on the Eastern Front. By 1945, Steiner's disillusionment reached a critical point. He engaged in discussions with Friedrich-Werner Graf von der Schulenburg about the possibility of removing Hitler from power. On April 21, 1945, as the Red Army closed in on Berlin, Hitler pinned his hopes on a phantom army. The strategic situation in Berlin was dire. Soviet forces had breached the city's outer defenses and were rapidly advancing towards the heart of the Nazi capital. Hitler, desperate for a miracle, turned to Felix Steiner. The Führer's plans, however, were built on a foundation of delusion and misinformation. Hitler ordered Steiner to launch a massive counterattack, envisioning a pincer movement that would envelop the First Belarusian Front and push back the Soviet advance. This grandiose plan reflected Hitler's increasingly detached view of reality as he moved imaginary units across maps in his underground bunker. The success of this operation hinged entirely on Steiner's ability to muster a force capable of such an ambitious assault. The reality on the ground, however, stood in stark contrast to Hitler's imagination. Steiner's actual forces were a far cry from the powerful army the Führer believed he commanded. With only about 10,000 exhausted troops and a handful of tanks at his disposal, Steiner faced an impossible task. His units were scattered, poorly equipped, and in no condition to mount an effective counteroffensive against the well-supplied and numerically superior Soviet forces. Steiner reported to his superiors that he lacked the necessary combat strength to execute Hitler's plan. He informed them that only 2 battalions of the 4th SS Panzergrenadier Division were available, and even these were not properly equipped for combat. The immediate consequences of Steiner's refusal were profound. On April 22, 1945, during his afternoon conference, Hitler, upon realizing that Steiner would not be launching the attack, became enraged. Finally confronting the reality of Germany's imminent defeat, Hitler dispatched Gotthard Heinrici and Wilhelm Keitel to force Steiner to launch the attack. However, his efforts were unsuccessful. Steiner refused to carry out the attack. "I won't do it. This attack is nonsense, murder. Do what you want to me." Steiner's decision allowed the Soviet forces to consolidate their positions and continue their advance toward Berlin unopposed. The German defensive position in the city deteriorated rapidly, leading to the eventual encirclement of the capital. Steiner's refusal to attack had, in effect, hastened the end of the war in Europe. As news of Steiner's inaction spread, it catalyzed a series of events that would shape the final days of the Third Reich. The myth of the Steiner attack became a symbol of Hitler's detachment from reality and the futility of continued resistance. In the coming days, as Berlin fell and the Nazi regime crumbled, the consequences of Steiner's pivotal decision would continue to unfold, altering the course of history and sealing the fate of the once mighty Third Reich. Steiner continued to command his troops until April 27, 1945, despite being officially relieved of his duties. Even more remarkably, Steiner managed to negotiate with his replacement to maintain command until he could surrender his forces to the Americans. Steiner led his unit to the west, surrendering to the Americans, thus saving his men from Soviet labor camps. Upon surrendering, Steiner was imprisoned and became a subject of interest at the Nuremberg trials. The international community sought to unravel the complexities of his role within the SS and his actions during the war's final days. However, in a turn of events that highlighted the nuanced nature of post-war justice, the charges against Steiner were eventually dropped. In 1948, 3 years after the war's end, he was released from captivity. In 1951, he became a founding member of HIAG, a lobby group formed by former high-ranking Waffen-SS officers. HIAG campaigned for the legal, economic, and historical rehabilitation of the Waffen-SS, seeking to reshape the perception of the organization. Steiner's post-war writings became a crucial part of this endeavor. He wrote 2 books, The Army of Outlaws and The Volunteers, in which he described his wartime experiences. His books sought to present a more favorable view of the Waffen-SS. In these works, Steiner emphasized that many young Germans fought not out of blind faith in Hitler, but out of patriotism. This narrative aimed to separate the military actions of the Waffen-SS from the political ideologies of the Nazi regime, portraying its members as honorable soldiers rather than willing participants in a criminal organization. Steiner's post-war activities were not limited to writing and lobbying. In a surprising turn of events, he was recruited by the US Central Intelligence Agency in 1953. The CIA enlisted Steiner to help establish the Society for Defense Study, an organization composed of former German military officers. This group served as a propaganda tool for the rearmament of West Germany, highlighting the complex dynamics of the early Cold War era. As the years passed, the historical judgment of Steiner's actions in April 1945 remained contentious. While some viewed him as the competent military leader who prioritized the lives of his men in refusing Hitler's suicidal orders, others criticized his involvement with the SS and the atrocities committed by his units during the war. Steiner remained active within the Waffen-SS Veterans Association, HIAG, and participated in reunions with his wartime comrades until his death on May 16, 1966. Hundreds of his men traveled from across Europe to attend his funeral and pay their final respects. Ultimately, Steiner's post-war life reflects a broader trend among former Nazi officials who sought to rehabilitate their images and the organizations they served. His story reveals the complex moral choices faced by military leaders in desperate circumstances and the enduring struggle to reconcile wartime actions with post-war realities. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this video informative. If you enjoyed learning about today's topic, make sure to check out our other World War II videos. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more World War II content. And we'll see you in the next one.